there, we're going to do something completely not microsoldering today on iPad Rehab channel. My life has changed, your life has changed, the whole world has changed, and what I'm going to talk about is what I've been doing, which is trying to figure out what the heck I'm going to do to homeschool 4 kids. I've got 4 kids that range in age from 15, 13, and I've got 2 9-year-olds. That's a pretty big age range. I'm trying to do stuff that's educational, that's fun, that's relevant, that's practical, it's creative. We've got a lot of ideas, and I'm going to show you my absolute favorite idea that we did this week, which was making this big graph. This big graph was super, super relevant because it really plugged them in to the current outbreak. And it taught them so much about the intersection of math, numbers, how numbers can translate into pictures that can actually predict the future, plus social studies. They got to sort of know these individual countries that they picked to model. I've been posting about this a lot because I've been really, really jazzed about this project. Their number one question is, when is life going to go back to normal? They're out of school. It's such a profound change, and we can track how we're doing on a daily basis. This graph here, the USA line, we can see exactly when our social distancing, hand washing, staying the heck away from each other, when is that going to start to pay off? We will see that in the very morning that happens. We're going to see that dot on that curve start to flatten out. That's what we're all trying to do, flatten the curve. Right now, is it working? No, it's not. And they can see that, and they can see how important this is and what a big deal it is. You can see what's happening. Look at the USA line. It looks identical to Italy. And what's going on in Italy? It's devastating in Italy. That's our future. And that creates this sort of sense of urgency that I think is so important. So even if you're not homeschooling kids, do this exercise just for yourself, because it really, really, really plugs you into this epidemic. We're going to hear from Betsy and Maisie what their experience was in a few minutes, but let me kind of show you how I put this activity together. So we don't start with a big graph, because the big graph is relating all of these different countries together, and we're going to start with just plotting individual countries. And to do that, we need to begin with a source of the raw data. Now, for my younger girls, the 9-year-olds, they really enjoyed this part, the methodical calculating of the raw data. Let me show you how we did that. So I'll take out the big graph, and we will bring back the browser. And what we did is we would start by going to the World Health Organization and looking for their situation reports. Now, this is really cool because the situation reports let you kind of go back in time, because we kind of wanted the historical data, like what was going on like a week ago. I can't even remember a week ago. A week ago, we had alarm clocks. We didn't wear our pajamas all day. My kids would actually leave the house and get on a bus. That's ancient history. It's pretty cool, though. You can go back to, early on. I can remember January 30th. It was my husband's 50th birthday, and let's see what was happening in the situation report. You can read along here, and it will tell you exactly how many cases there were in the world. And let's see, on January, can you guys see that? Yeah, on January 31st, there were 7,736 cases in China. Today in the US, there's more cases than that. So this is a dramatic change over a short period of time. You can see that there was sort of a handful of cases everywhere else, and the United States had 5 cases way back then. Now, you can circle through these situation reports and open up the next day and the next day. And what the girls did, and the boys, but to a lesser extent, what the girls did is they really bought into and they had fun with the country that they chose, opening up the situation report, clicking through, finding the information. They got to be really good at that. So at age 9, they could do it. So this seems kind of like a big project, like all these graphs and numbers and oh my goodness, it's way over their head. But this part of it, they could become strikingly proficient at finding this data. And they kind of had a good time doing it. Let me show you what that raw data would look like. So here's an example of Maisie's work. So Maisie was doing Italy. I highly recommend that somebody on your team pick Italy. We picked Italy and France, Spain, Korea, and the United States. So let's take a look. So here's an example of a piece of her data where she would write down February 25th, look up that WHO situation report, and then she would find the number for Italy, 229, write it down, and you can see how that went day after day after day. And she really could kind of, open the next one, like rooting for Italy. Like, I hope it's a low number. So they kind of got that numerical sense that was really, really strong. And then you can see what happened in Italy as it went through. It's just so recent. March 12th, that was last week. We were out to dinner back when you could go out to dinner. Oh my goodness. Back when Italy only had 12,000 cases. That's almost where the US is right now. That was last week. Oh my goodness. And now today, Italy has 31,000 cases. So I love this activity for really giving them a really meaningful, 41,000. It gives them a really meaningful sense. Yeah, 31,000 at the last WHO report, 41,000 as we stand here today. So that kind of gives them that really meaningful numerical sense. Now, the boys didn't have the patience to kind of click through these individual reports from the World Health Organization. So let me show you what they ended up doing. They were smart enough with their existing skills to say there's got to be a less labor intensive way, which I think is kind of what their generation is really good at. So they found their way to the second resource, which everyone should be aware of. Second resource here is the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center. And this is that sort of big number that you can track all day long that kind of gives you a sense of how things stand globally. So right now, this we can see in real time as we sit here now. Italy has 41,000 cases. I think when you write down each individual number incrementally, that gives you the richer feeling and sort of marriage to the data itself. All right, so the third resource that we've spent some time with lately is this worldometers.info. Where did it go? There we go. So worldometer.info. This is also a really great place to get the same information. Now, early on, all of these three data sources were always the same. Today, it depends, right? If you're getting 10,000 cases a day, whether or not you take your number at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. makes a heck of a lot of difference. And so you want to just kind of figure out how you're going to, just pick a plan and stick with it. So this is what the boys did. They would find their country, France, for example, and then they would scroll down to this graph, and then they could instantly see very quickly those individual numbers, and then they would write those down. All right, so once we had that raw data set, the second thing that I asked them to do was to actually just make a basic country graph, right? So this would be something like this. This is Betsy's, 9-year-old Betsy, where for the very first time, she had to experience making a paper graph. When was the last time you did that? Me, I might have had to start over. Maybe it was 3 times because I kept messing up on the, the axes where you have to kind of figure out how do you get a ruler? How do you, pro tip, use a pencil. Second pro tip, go get some graph paper. One of your kids is going to have graph paper. If they do, that's going to be really, really helpful when you're trying to actually make an accurate graph. And I was surprised. I was really proud of our school district because Sam was, he just was so fast and efficient. So here's Sam's graph of France. And he came up with this very, very quickly. And what I liked that he did is he got bored. So then he started to do the social studies aspect, which is to go find the societal information, the political stuff, how are they actually managing this epidemic? And after you've kind of taken all this time to actually write out a graph, you really care about France. And that was the other thing I really liked about this activity in general, is that each of my students really identified with the country. They were kind of rooting for that country and their response to the epidemic. And so each kid looked up to figure out, the big important thing, when did their schools close, to put it on the graph. And I really love that about this activity, especially in this climate, as we all sequester ourselves and the news media is pounding on us, and it's starting to make us feel this isolated, nationalistic, pointing fingers. It's really, really getting ugly. And I think that instilling in the homeschool kids and your kids this idea of sort of rooting for other nations. Nobody causes a virus, it's an accident. Viruses don't care who the president is. You can't get mad at a virus. Mistakes are made. Nobody really is good at handling a pandemic. People are going to make mistakes and they're going to be really costly, and it's really easy. And I'm finding myself falling into this trap of blaming. Why the heck don't we have tests? Look at Korea. What are they doing good? They're testing the heck out of everything. Why aren't we doing it? You can get really, really ugly and really angry. So I love that this activity sort of anchors us in a global fight against the same problem. It makes you root for the other countries and hope that they're going to do well and share those lessons learned. So it was really, really powerful. It was a great activity. It was my favorite thing that we did. I love how it combined multiple disciplines, and it taught me that, man, I don't know very much about how to use a graph paper anymore. And it really brought in my 15-year-old that had sort of the more algebra experience, and he could calculate slope and he could make stronger predictions. And you can take it a long way from what we've done here. You can make up alternative ways to graph the data. You can look at the big graph, which just has so many, let's put the big graph back up. You can actually look at the big graph itself and you could calculate those slopes. You can use that to predict the future. You can figure out, what's going to happen. Do we need to be doing more? Even these guys, they can have an opinion on what seems so over the top for them. This helps them to see that it's not even enough. Look at what happened. Look at the dot today. We are not doing good, folks. We are not flattening the curve. And that really helps them when you have to say to them, we're not leaving the house again today. And no, you can't have a play date with your friends. It's important, and they get that. So I've just absolutely loved this activity for homeschooling. And I'm super excited to share with you the experience here. We're going to talk to Betsy and Maisie. All right, so it's Betsy and Maisie. Can you guys tell us, maybe, would you recommend this activity for other kids that are homeschooling with their mom?
Yes.
But you said it wasn't very fun.
I know, but it's very good for learning. And that's like what school is, to learn. Yeah, I just think school is mostly about learning, and
Yeah, sounds pretty honest. Okay, so which country did you have?
Italy.
And show me Italy on this graph. Which one is Italy?
Italy goes up to there. Italy.
And how would you figure out where to put how many cases Italy has today?
I would look it up.
How? Show me.
On Google and say, or on WHO situation report.
Okay, can you actually do that for us? Would you mind showing us?
Sure, but how?
Here, just do it right like that. Now you drive. Find it.
Okay. Is today March? Well, that was yesterday, but
So what are you looking for?
Italy's cases.
Mm-hmm. And what is it?
31506.
Is that high, do you think?
It's really high. It's very high.
Okay. And where would you put that on the graph?
Up here.
Now, what about Spain? Can you tell us a little bit about Spain, Betsy?
Okay. It's 11178. So, yeah, the chart is pretty accurate. 115. Oh, wait. Yeah, 115.
Show them which one is Spain again. Amazing move.
This purple line.
That one is Italy.
Okay, so Betsy, in your opinion, as you look at USA, which country do you think USA is most similar to?
Italy.
Italy?
Yeah.
And Spain, or not Spain?
kind of the same. Well, Spain is also on Italy's track, so yeah, Spain.
So would you predict that Spain and Italy and USA are all going to kind of have the same ultimate
I
outcome?
think USA and France will be the same.
Well, can you tell me about Korea, though? Is Korea the same as Italy, USA, Spain, and France, or different?
It's different.
How so?
Well, because they're starting to flatten out and go slower.
Okay. And how do you know that?
Because there's less cases and it's not going very fast.
It's not going whew like Italy. Yeah. Now, Betsy, do you have any ideas about what it is? Why do you think Korea is flattening out, but USA and Italy are not?
Well, I'm not really sure. I guess Korea is doing better on washing their hands, staying away from other human beings.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they're washing their hands more because that is how you transfer disease. Maybe they're staying 6 feet away from people not in their family.
Population.
Bailey suggests maybe they have a lower population.
This isn't even by capita, so this wouldn't really.
So Bailey's pointing out something that says, well, maybe they just don't have that many people there. Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
Korea was my country, and guess what I found out? That there's one thing that Korea is doing really well. You know what that is?
What?
They actually have no lockdowns, but, which is surprising, they are testing
Like crazy,
like crazy.
like insanely.
Yes, they've tested almost 300,000 people. Right? That's really a lot compared to in Rochester, there's only 30 tests.
In all?
In all. Mm-hmm.
Oh, gee.
If you're not doing very much testing in the U.S., do you think that there might be more cases or less cases than we think?
More. Maybe it's here.
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty good. And was there anything else that was sort of surprising? Or what? Let me ask you girls, as you look at these lines and you see how they're tracking, what would you like to see happen to the USA line tomorrow when you go to plot the point?
Well, we want it to go up a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Why do you want it to go up a little bit instead of down?
Well, because so more people get it, and if more people are immune to it, that means that next year they won't have to lock themselves inside.
Yeah. So
But they're still not going to like sports games and big crowds.
So you think it would be best for it to just go slow and be like Korea. All right. Sounds very good. I think honestly that you girls have learned a lot. I mean, I think that's pretty good. You seem to know a lot about this stuff. What was like the main thing that you think taught you the most? Like what was
WHO situation report.
Reading the situation reports. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you guys seem to have fun with that. Like just what's going to happen the next day as you open the next one and stuff like that. And what are you looking forward to in homeschool next? Like what are you looking for?
Dissecting a pig.
Dissecting the fetal pig. All right, very good. Thank you very much for agreeing to be on my video, unlike my other students. Co-workers. All right, that's it. And then if you like this kind of content, you know, we're hoping to do all kinds of fun stuff in our Made-up Homeschool. We've got a fetal pig over here. We've got some stuff to look at under the microscope. I got some of that germ powder. We're going to try to fix some stuff, and we're really hoping to make this a memorable. We're going to make some memories, and hopefully, most of those memories will not be us yelling at each other. So we'll see. Stay tuned, and I would love to hear what are you doing, even if you're not homeschooling kids. You know, what kind of other interesting ways are there to look at data? You know, give me some ideas. I would love to hear what you would do, what you are doing with your kids, what's working and what's not, because we're all in this together. And that's all I got for this one.